Hello, and welcome to the GoldenGoal podcast. We're back.
Yeah, we are. As promised, we're back with our England rant.
Oh, we have prepared for this, and I think we're ready.
This is going to be, Reece is already a bit more upset because Leeds just lost 3-0 to QPR. So
fuck off.
expect even more fire than normal.
QPR can suck my dick.
Like we did in the last video, we're going to start off with our own views, our own thoughts on England and the performance of the Euros. What went wrong? Do you want to start us off, mate?
I'm still upset about Leeds.
I know you're still upset about Leeds, but
okay, well, England.
where do we start?
Where do you start with England? Like, I actually don't really know
There's just so much to say. Well, should we just talk about the results? First result, 1-1 draw against Russia. Second...
Do you know what? That game wasn't even that bad.
I mean, I thought it was an encouraging display. They were a
It
far
really
better
was.
team. They're playing attacking football. Fantastic goal by Eric Dyer.
Oh, it was great, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I thought, you know what? A 1-0 win. We can go through with that. I'm happy with that. Good start. You know, I wasn't expecting loads of goals. And then lack of concentration, and they go and score in the last minute.
And once again, who is at fault? Fucking Joe Hart. Again.
Joe Hart, this is not going to be the first time we mention this player's name, because believe me, he's not in our good books.
He is not in my good books at all.
And then in the second match, they continue. You know, they went a goal down to Wales. You know, another poor performance by Hart. Really should have saved that free kick by Gareth Bale.
It was a save that you see the majority of goalkeepers making.
9 times out of 10.
Yeah,
that would be easily saved. That would be caught.
Yeah, exactly.
He couldn't even. I don't understand why he tried to palm it away. It could easily just been brought into his chest when he dived down into it.
We'll talk about Joe Hart in a minute because we need to. 0-0 against Slovakia. I mean, I spoke about this in the last podcast. I think that honestly, that game was probably a game that we could have got a result in, but they just stuck 11 men behind the ball. Like, there's nothing much you can do.
And we should have really won that match. I mean, I read somewhere we had 29 shots.
Yeah.
But like you said, I think that's my first thought is we had so much promise.
Yeah. This is probably
failed to deliver.
The best chance we have had at winning an international tournament in a long time.
I think since Euro 2004.
Well, think about it. You've got two fantastically informed strikers.
Yeah, I mean, I read somewhere that Harry Kane scored 28 goals last season. Jamie Vardy had 24. That's a combined goal scoring of 52. I mean, when have you had two strikers in that form?
Yeah, especially for England. Like, most teams together don't have that kind of goal scoring form.
I don't think any other team had two more informed strikers than we did.
And then you also had Dele Alli, who was massively in form. He had a fantastic season. You had James Milner, who had the most assists in the Premier League last season.
I mean, Joe Hart had another solid performance in the net for the City.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't really put a foot wrong all season.
Apart from in Champions League.
Apart from the Champions League.
You
know, Wayne Rooney, you know, he just broken the goal. I know he didn't have a fantastic season, but he just broken the goal scoring record for England.
I suppose.
You know, he scored a few goals in the qualifiers. You know, Chris Smalling had a decent season for an average Manchester United squad. True. Really stepped up to the plate.
Yeah, and it was just a lack of everything.
A lack of direction.
Passion.
Identity.
Yeah.
I think identity is the key
word.
That's
huge.
Because you look at the other big teams, you know, like we said in the other episode, like Germany having, you know, their own brand of football, and then
Spain.
Italy sticking to their 3-5-2 principle. England had absolutely nothing. It was just tactically woeful.
It was inept.
I mean, some of the decisions that Roy Hodgson made, and we'll get onto him later, were just dreadful. I mean, how he was the best paid manager at that tournament is beyond a joke.
It was crazy. And I mean, the thing is, what I didn't understand was going into that tournament. You know, when... Let's think back. Let's go back to, say, Euro 2008.
Yeah.
When you had Germany in that team, that was a really young German team. When you had sort of a fairly young Thomas Müller, a pretty young Bastian Schweinsteiger.
Lahm as well.
Lahm wasn't, like, young, but he was, like, you know, middling. but you had a lot of young German players in that team, and it's very kind of similar to how the England team looks, where all the key players are kind of fairly young. They brought a real youthful exuberance into that tournament, and it did them really well. They got really far and did really well, but none of that was shown in with England.
Do you think it was fatigue? Do you think it was just a lack of passion from the manager that couldn't stem, which stagnated the players' ability?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Because I thought, look, we've completely got rid of this golden generation. I mean, the only golden generation we had left was Wayne Rooney. We don't have a Lampard, we don't have Gerrard. These players, for a lot of them, this is their first tournament, and I thought they'd be like really up for it. They go in there on a high, go in there for confidence. They didn't have that much pressure.
No.
I mean, it wasn't like anyone expected them to. I mean, we expected them to top their group. We expected them to maybe get to at least the quarterfinals. But there was no one in England. I think they did a poll on the BBC where only about 3% of the population said that we could win it. So all we wanted to see as England fans was attacking, fluid football, because those players are attacking-minded players.
And they're good players. It's not even as if they're shit. They're good players.
Vardy's attacking player. Harry Kane's a clinical goal scorer. Like you said, like young, they should have been fearless. But instead, they're playing like they're scared.
They were scared. Like I don't know. Like I said this last time. I looked at Harry Kane. Harry Kane didn't look himself at all. Like he was fluffing chances. He was taking set pieces, which we'll get on to fucking later. Like, that was mental. And
he looked absolutely exhausted. He did look like a player that had played 50 games and had like 10 too many games. You saw him near the end of last season. When Tottenham kind of went on that decline a bit, he was tiring out even then. And you'd think that, Roy Hodgson would try and, mix it up a little bit. Maybe give him a bit of a break, especially after the first two matches he didn't perform, but he just didn't do that.
No, he's stuck to it like a stubborn old goat.
So should we move on to Hodgson, or should we talk about the players first?
Do you know what? We'll get on to Hodgson in a bit. Let's rip into the players first.
So basically, we've rated each England player out of 10 and given our reasons for it. Some of them aren't too kind. I think I'm going to start off with the one and only. Start from the back. Start with Joe Hart. I gave him a 2 out of 10.
I gave him a 1.
What's your reasoning for that? It is pretty obvious, but
he was just shite. Like there have been. I mean, let's take. We were talking about Michael McGovern last time.
Yeah.
If you took Michael McGovern's ratio of he made 5 saves to every 5 saves for every goal he conceded.
Yeah.
That would mean that he wouldn't have conceded for England. Because Joe Hart only had 5 saves to make.
And he let in 4
He
goals.
conceded 4. 5 saves to make. That is mental.
And even in the goals he let in, it wasn't like they were. It wasn't like
they weren't
difficult
spectacular.
Saves. There was nothing difficult. There was nothing you could think with every single one of those shots he could have had a chance.
The Russian goal, he was way out of position. He was way too close to his near post instead of watching the far post.
He should have commanded that so much better than he did.
Yeah, exactly. He should have been watching both posts because that's what Russia are going to do. Because that's what they were trying to do the whole game, was trying to put crosses in.
And he had nothing to do that whole match.
Yeah, exactly.
Just lapsed concentration. In that one crucial second he needed to do. Because the England team had played so well as a unit.
Yeah.
Defensively, in midfield, and he just let the team decide down.
He really did. He was rubbish.
Then against Wales, I mean, that
Gareth,
like we said earlier, the Gareth Bale free kick. Straight at him.
The thing is, that was probably the worst free kick Gareth Bale scored in the whole tournament, because he scored quite a few free kicks, didn't he?
How many yards out was it? It was 30.
Yeah, it was quite
30,
far.
35 yards out. You're thinking he has had plenty of time to assess that. He knows where the ball was going. The ball barely moved as well.
Yeah.
Straight towards him. He just had to dive about 2 yards to his left, and it would have It would have saved it easily.
Honestly, I'm not even sure why we even built a wall for that Gareth Bale free kick, because he never, ever went for the near post. I'm not sure why we even bothered with the wall.
And then Slovakia, he didn't have anything
have
to do
anything to
because
do.
they put 11 players behind the ball.
Oh, and Iceland. Oh my. That did poor. Just shit.
And do you know what the worst thing about him was? Is he was overheard saying that when he let in the second goal against Iceland, the Iceland players recalled him saying, "We've got to play better in the next match." So he was so complacent, he was so arrogant that he was like, "Well, we're still going to beat these guys anyway."
Yeah.
And what they do, they lose to a team ranked 133rd. But it's that arrogance.
It's fucking arrogant.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, him saying that, it's not only going to discourage the player, his defence. It's hardly motivating in itself. It's going to fucking encourage Iceland.
I'm almost glad that we lost, just purely because I think that we deserved it.
It's a psychological thing. Do you know what? What is good about that loss is the catastrophicness of it. Losing to Iceland, a team ranked, like we said, 133rd going into it, the worst team in the tournament, it just accentuates how bad we were. Had we lost like we normally would do, say if we played just as badly and then got knocked out 1-0 to Portugal, and then Portugal go on to win the Euro,
There'd be no
Euro,
change.
everyone would be like, oh, well, they lost to the champions. It was all right. It wasn't too bad. Poor old Roy.
That's pretty much what happened in Euro 2012. Because do you remember we lost to Italy? And we got fucking spanked by Italy. But, like, somehow we took it to penalties. But they had, like, 30 shots.
Yeah.
And it was when Pirlo did that shipped penalty. I don't know whether you remember.
Yeah, that was 2012, wasn't it?
2012. But, I mean, that's probably... We should have looked at ourselves after that tournament and been like, this is shit. We need a shake-up. And then the World Cup in 2014... We didn't even fucking get out of our group.
And everyone was like, oh, but it was because it was the group of death and we had...
We didn't have the group of death. We had Costa Rica. We had... Uruguay, who frankly weren't that great. I'm sorry. They weren't that good. Uruguay.
And Italy.
Did we have Italy?
Yeah, because remember it was... I think.
Oh, yeah. But sorry, that's not a group of death.
But a lot of people said that, like, at the time, they used it as an excuse. Like,
it's an excuse.
Difficult. But to be the best, you've got to beat the best.
Exactly.
And in this case, who did we play? We played Russia, who were absolutely woeful.
Yeah. We played Slovakia, who was shit.
Wales, who, the first international tournament since...
1950s.
And then you go and lose to the worst team in the competition. I mean, we didn't have to... You should be winning all of those matches.
If you're England and you have the players at your disposal with the best paid manager in the tournament.
And the best paid team, I think, in the tournament.
Probably.
Which is absolutely disgusting. I mean, some of the Iceland players are pretty much like...
They're part-time footballers.
Yeah.
The fucking manager's a part-time dentist.
I mean, it just goes to show, doesn't it? It just goes to show, and I'll go on to that later, about just like the whole mentality of the squad. And for me, that arrogance that Joe Hart displayed like warrants him a 2 out of 10.
I would, Joe. You're lucky you haven't got a fucking 0 if you're listening. To be honest, the only reason that you got 1 is because you made that save. You made that one save.
And when people go on about, oh well, Joe Hart, he's won the Golden Glove 3 times. That's because he's played behind the best defences of the past 5 years. Man City's defence up until last year had been absolutely incredible. They've been absolutely solid. Now you're playing behind Cahill and Smalling, who aren't as good. You're getting exposed.
Yeah, and doesn't it go to show as well that the times when Joe Hart makes mistakes and when he looks exposed is when he's in the Champions League and Man City's defence is just outclassed.
Yeah.
Doesn't that go to show?
When it comes to the big boys, when it comes to
when he actually needs to perform, he just crumbles.
Like so many England players have done in the recent 10 years. Who are we going on to
now? On
to
more positive things.
Kyle Walker.
Kyle Walker.
Gave him a 6.
Yeah, I gave him a 6. I actually thought that he was bad against Iceland, I have to say.
I said that. I said Iceland was his weak match. But apart from that, in the group stage, he was a bright spark.
I honestly think him and a couple of other players who we'll get on to later he was one of the key components in us even getting through that group.
And he's definitely got a future in England. I mean,
Oh,
I think after every player, we should say whether or not they should be
In the
considered
England
by
team.
Sam Allardyce. And for me, Kyle Walker.
Kyle Walker,
Great
definitely.
positioning, got forward, defensively.
He's got a decent cross on him.
Exactly. He created a lot of chances.
He knows when to get forward and when to get back most of the time.
And he was one of the most intelligent players on the pitch.
Yeah. Well done, Kyle Walker. And we think that you should give yourself a big pat on the back if you're listening. Even though you're not listening, you're not listening.
I think one of 3 players where I only rated them 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Or more. So should we go on to
Gary Cahill.
Gary Cahill. I thought he was lethargic, and I think it was exposed when he had pacey strikers running at him. And people are talking about him being the potential captain now. You know, the captaincy's up in the air. There's no official England captain right now. And yes, he may have experience, but I just thought he was caught out a lot. I don't think his positioning was that great, lacking pace. He's just getting on a bit. And he didn't have a great last tournament either. I mean, I gave him a 4.
Yeah.
So he wasn't the worst player. Trust me, there are worse ratings in this team. But
I gave him a 5. I thought that probably in as dismal of an England performance as that we've seen at a tournament, I thought he wasn't bad. He wasn't bad. He certainly wasn't, in my opinion, a reason why we got knocked out.
he wasn't the worst player on the pitch. But what I'm saying is the reason why I've rated him so low is because he has that experience. And you expect players like Gary Cahill to step up.
True.
Because, you know, he's performed well for Chelsea for many years. He must be about 30, 31 years of age.
Yeah.
So you'd expect him to step up.
He's either late 20s or 30.
I mean, he was the most experienced defender in that team by a country mile.
Yeah.
So I kind of expected a bit more of him. Should we go on to
Chris Smalling?
Chris Smalling?
See, I gave Chris Smalling a 4 just purely because Chris Smalling, he's meant to be supposedly England's best centre-back. And I just thought that, I thought at times he wasn't commanding enough for me. I didn't think he was, you know how we were talking about Gareth McCauley in the last podcast, where, he would pick players up and, just not be afraid to go and,
take risks.
Attack the ball.
And
take risks, yeah. He just didn't do that. He was steady, but that's almost a bad thing.
Thing is, I just think it just goes to show the state of our defence that Chris Smalling is our best centre-back.
It really does.
For me, I gave him a 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
I thought he was a bit better than Cahill. I think he was at fault for one of the goals they let in against Iceland as well, just poor positioning, poor communication with Joe Hart. I think they lacked massively in the communication. And yeah, he should have stepped up, really. Because this was, you think about him, he's 24 years old now. He was one of Manchester United's bright sparks in a team that actually defended well last season. And yeah, I did expect a lot more of him. But he's one of these players, again, that just looked absolutely shattered from
his
previous season.
Yeah.
And it is a shame. But I don't think, like we said earlier, he isn't one of the worst. His average performances are hidden by players that are worse than him.
Yeah.
For me, he was an average player in a poor side.
But isn't that bad, though, that we're looking at players that played average or even, below average, and we go, they were a decent player within the squad?
Exactly. It's almost as if, normally if a player gets a 5 or a 4 out of 10 rating, you villainise them.
Yeah.
In this case, it's almost as if you're not the worst. You're kind of average in this team.
That's so terrible.
Which is terrible and just goes to show the state of English football right now.
It's always shit. Now, for your fullbacks, did you have Danny Rose or Nathaniel Clyne?
I ranked both of them.
Okay, well, start with Nathaniel Clyne then.
I think he played well when he was called upon. I don't think he played as much.
I actually really like Nathaniel Clyne.
He created 7 chances in the match he played, which is the most England has done in one match since the tournament in the 1980s.
That's the most that a player has created in one game since the 80s?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, he was good at going forward. He created a lot of chances. I liked his attacking play when he played.
He showed to me why he was so hotly rated when he was younger. Because I think at Liverpool he's turned. I hate what they've turned him into at Liverpool because he's almost turned into one of those sort of like one of those average English fullbacks, if that makes sense.
He wasn't as adventurous when he was at Liverpool last
No.
season, and he was allowed to explore in that England squad.
Yeah.
I think it's because he was probably so fucking frustrated by
Yeah,
the lack
probably.
of, going forward. But when I saw him play, I was like, you know what, he's my man of the match.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, I think he was one of the best defenders, along with Rose, who I'll go on to now as well.
Yeah.
I gave Rose another 6 out of 10.
I gave both of them 6s.
Again, he was good in the first 2 matches, and he went missing against Iceland.
Got a bit exposed against Iceland.
Everyone got exposed against Iceland, and that's why I'm going to talk to you about Rooney later on and what he should have done to spark up the team.
Yeah, I thought that Danny Rose he ran that first half against Wales.
Yeah,
like he was charging down that left side.
And he was playing with no fear. He was playing with the fearlessness that we kind of expected the younger players to play.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. For me, he's going to stay. He's got to stay.
He has to. Him and Klein have got to stay in the England team.
So far we're keeping him, Klein, Smalling, as well, and Walker.
Smalling and Walker. Yeah.
Should we move on to the midfielders now?
Indeed. Who have you started with?
I started with Sterling. Started 3 matches, got subbed off in them all. And why he started against Iceland is absolutely beyond me.
I can almost see what Roy was thinking with Sterling starting against Iceland, because he was probably there going, "Oh, this Iceland team haven't got much. They don't have much pace in that team. We'll put Sterling in there to run rings around them." The problem that you have with that is that you can't just put a pacey headless chicken against a team with no pace and expect them to make an impact.
Well, Iceland is such a physical side, and Sterling is such a small player. He's going to get eaten alive, and he did get eaten alive. He went absolutely missing. And in my opinion, I thought it was, again, arrogance from the manager here. I thought he was thinking, well, Sterling's lacking confidence. We're going to beat Iceland very easily, 3 or 4-0. Take a pick. Let's put Sterling on. He'll grab a goal or 2, maybe grab a cheeky assist. And that's why I think it was chosen, because he thought, we're going to win this match. Let's give Sterling some confidence, which completely backfired. And I do feel, what did you give him in the end? I gave him a 3 out of 10.
1.
You gave him a 1. I do feel, though, do you feel like his age and experience is an excuse, or do you think, he's a £50 million player and he should be?
I'll tell you what, I would have given him the benefit of the doubt if he was, when he was in the beginnings of his career at Liverpool, when he was starting to show promise, I would say, right, okay, you can give him the benefit of the doubt then. He has been at Man City for a full season now?
Yeah, 1 full season.
A full season now, and he's done nothing for City.
I almost feel it's going to be kind of like this Theo Walcott kind of character where he's going to have
all this. Sinclair.
Yeah, maybe. Because I remember at the last World Cup, Sterling played, and I remember thinking he had these bright sparks, he played a lot more fearlessly. And now it's almost as if that fear is generated, and I just don't think it was protected. I think, if it was me, I would have bought Townsend instead of Sterling.
Yeah.
Which I'll come on to again later. Oh, who have you got as your next midfielder, mate?
I have Dele Alli.
Dele Alli. I gave him a 4 out of 10.
I gave him a 3. I feel like I'm being quite harsh on Dele Alli, but the thing is, when you come into a team that has, where you're put in your preferred position, pretty much being given complete freedom to do what you want and be creative and whatever, he looked as if, why is playing for Tottenham, who are challenging for the title, why does that not scare him, but then playing for England does?
I guess maybe because when he went into that Tottenham side, it was all built upon momentum. He had no expectations prior to that. Whereas now he's played 46 matches for Tottenham, one of the best players, youngest best player. He's gone in there with a bit more expectation. It's almost as if he can't hide behind being unknown anymore. He is now one of those players that everyone was looking at thinking, Dele Alli, he's going to be quite prolific this tournament. And I had him down as going to be one of the bright sparks of that England squad. And I was excited to see him play.
I was so happy when I saw the starting lineup and I saw that Dele Alli was in there playing in the attacking midfield. I was like, that's good. That's where he's meant to be.
And he was surrounded by his Tottenham teammates as well.
Yeah, it wasn't even as if he was completely, put in an unknown team. He had Eric Dyer behind him. He had Harry Kane in front of him. He had Kyle Walker and Danny Rose on either side of him.
I mean, it was pretty much the Tottenham players, apart from the two defenders, that just really failed to turn up and create that kind of like catalyst they had between them. And that's what we were looking at. Everyone was thinking, in previous seasons you'd have like two players from each of the big teams.
Yeah.
We basically had a lot of Tottenham players. That was like the heartbeat of that midfield.
And that was a positive thing. I remember seeing that and I was like, that's positive.
Because when you look at Spain and you look at, I know they didn't have the greatest tournament, and you look at Germany, they all play for the same, pretty much like in Spain, most of them play for either Barcelona or Real Madrid. Most of them, not all of them. And in Germany, most of them play for Dortmund or Bayern Munich. Because they know each other better. They normally are used to the way they play and stuff.
Well, I mean, the time that Spain had their glory period was when you had the three in the middle that were Xavi, Iniesta and Busquets.
Exactly.
All from Barcelona. So, I mean, the fact that Dele Alli, I'm more forgiving of him than Sterling. I do think he actually tried harder than Sterling as well.
He just looked worn out.
Yeah, he looked very tired, and he looked genuinely frightened because Sterling almost looked like when you're frightened to do something and you sort of go into that state where you're a bit sort of like, oh well, fuck it, I won't do it then.
Yeah.
Like I just don't want to do it. That was what Sterling looked like, whereas what Dele Alli looked like was that he was really trying, but he was just terrified.
Yeah.
Personally, anyway, that's what I thought.
I'm going to go on to Lallana now.
Adam Lallana
I thought he played well.
He was probably one of the best midfielders.
I gave him a 6 out of 10. Had some nice touches, and he just tried. He just looked like a player that was absolutely trying.
Yeah.
And it amuses me how he didn't start against Iceland, did he? No, he didn't start against Iceland. I would have played him against Iceland.
Or did he play on the right?
No, I don't think he did. No, I think he was dropped.
Probably.
Not 1,000,000% sure, but I remember he was put in and out of the squad time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, you know what? Because I never really rated him before this.
Yeah.
I thought he had an average season for Liverpool. He's quite lucky to be on the pitch. I remember him starting the first match, and everyone had question marks over it against Russia.
Yeah.
And he just delivered.
Yeah. He just created a few chances.
One of the best players, arguably probably one of, if not the best midfielder, along with Dyer.
Probably. Speaking of which, Eric Dyer.
Fantastic.
He was easily, in my opinion, the best midfielder in that team. Easily.
What a cracking goal he scored against Russia.
Oh no, it was Sturridge. Sturridge who started on the right. He just nice box to box player. He just kept things ticking.
I gave him a 7 out of 10. For me, he was our player, and he was a bright spark amongst the dullness and the crap that was England this season.
Yeah, it's not sad.
It is really sad, and obviously he's going to be. Well, when Sam Allardyce picks his England team, he should be the first in that team sheet.
He'll definitely be in that team. He should be. He didn't play too much, but Jack Wilshere.
Yeah, I'd put Wilshere. Why was Jack Wilshere picked?
Why was he in the squad?
I think he played less than 200 minutes of football, and he was picked in front of Danny Drinkwater.
You mean played less than 200 minutes of football in the season?
In the season, yeah.
Yeah.
In the whole season.
And he played ahead of Danny Drinkwater and Mark Noble.
Two midfielders I'd have had any day over him. And he was brought on as an impact player. He had 20 minutes bursts in most of the matches. He didn't make a single impact at all.
I didn't think he did.
I gave him a 5 out of 10. I mean, you can see he was trying, but he just doesn't look fit. I mean,
No,
he's a
he's not
player
fit.
that you can't expect someone that's played less than 200 minutes of football during a whole season to play in a tournament where there's a match every third day.
I know.
How crazy was that?
I mean, what's even more crazy is that you hear. I mean, obviously they're going to be biased, but you hear Arsenal fans talking about when Jack Wilshere came on, and they were like, "Oh yeah, no, he made a great impact in that game." No, he didn't. He didn't make any impact at all.
Let's be honest, who are Arsenal going to talk about other than him?
Other than Jack Wilshere.
This is the only Arsenal player that went.
Fucking shots. Fucking shots.
Well, it is true.
It's true.
It's true. Like,
It's
only
true.
one Arsenal player got on that play. Thank goodness for that. Anyway.
There's going to be so much rage.
Anyway, I'm sorry if my girlfriend is hearing this. She's an Arsenal fan.
Alright, well, in the midfield slots, who would we have for Sam Allardyce's squad? I'd still have Dele Alli.
I still have Dele Alli and Dyer.
Dele Alli, Dyer, maybe Lallana.
I was thinking Lallana.
Maybe Lallana just for like. Okay, Lallana if you don't have form players on the wing.
Yeah.
Because we'll talk about Roy Hodgson later because we'll get onto that in a bit. Strikers. All right, let's just.
Should we talk about Mr. Captain Fantastic?
He's dragging this England squad down.
He's been. I mean, I'm a Manchester United fan, and obviously I've loved Wayne Rooney, but he has not once performed for England in an international tournament since Euro 2004, 12 years ago.
Arguably our best tournament that we've had, probably in our lifetimes.
Yeah, it's just. You know what? He played fantastically well against Russia, and in my opinion, he was the man of the match against Russia. And he played okay against Wales. But what a captain should do is motivate and inspire his players. And for me, his captain's performance against Iceland was perhaps the worst captain's performance I've ever seen in England captain.
Can you imagine someone like Buffon doing that kind of thing?
Just his body language was so sluggish. He was looking down at the ground. He wasn't talking to his players. He was getting clearly frustrated. And body language just shows and illustrates so much.
It does.
And he's just not a captain. He's just lost that fire, hasn't he?
He's not as passionate about. I don't think he's that passionate about football anymore. I don't know about you.
I think since I as a Manchester United fan, I've seen his passion dwindle and dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. When he was younger and he was 18, from the ages of 18 to about 24, I reckon until about 2011, 2010, he just had that fire, that hunger in his belly, and you thought, you know, he's rough, he's a bit like Gazza, he's a bit rough, gets in the opponent's faces, clearly cares so much about his nation, clearly cares so much about his club. But now he just looks disenchanted. He just looked bored on the pitch.
He doesn't give a fuck.
And it's just so sad to see because he's clearly talented, and it's like he's almost as if he knows. Like one of the key components he used to have as a young player was his speed. He's completely lost his speed, and his fearlessness, which he's lost as well. His speed, his fearlessness, even his power. He just doesn't have that confidence in front of goal anymore.
He's almost like I don't know. This is almost what I think has happened with Arsene Wenger as well, where the tenacity has gone. Like, you know that, like, Wayne Rooney would have... You know, if Wayne Rooney got, like, shoved over in the box, like, you would expect him to turn... Like, half expect him to turn around and just fucking lamp whoever shoved him down in the box. Because he was like, I want to score that, or I want a penalty. If he didn't get either, he would get really annoyed. And an annoyed Wayne Rooney was probably the best state you could have him as. But same with Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger used to get like really uppity and angry and whatever, and now he's just like a wet blanket.
It's just what confusing to me is everyone's always being like, oh, he's won everything in club football, Now he's won the FA Cup, and you think, well, he's 30 now. He's not going to have many more tournaments. You know, he's not the fittest player ever.
Lots of players have won everything in club football. But it doesn't mean they're...
Yeah, exactly. You just still try it on an international level because people are going to question you. Yes, statistically, he's broken, you know, the England goal scoring record, but is he going to go down as an England legend?
No, I don't think so.
Because he's only scored How many goals has he scored in international tournaments since Euro 2004? I think one.
Well, bear in mind that he broke Bobby Moore's record. Bobby Moore's
Of the
record
most
of the most goals scored.
caps. No, that's Sir Bobby Charlton.
Oh, Bobby Charlton, yeah. Bobby Moore was most caps. Bear in mind that in those days, you didn't start if you were like 18.
Yeah.
You didn't start for your country if you were 18. That would have been fucking over every newspaper, like probably around the world as well, not even just in your country.
And do you know what's interesting is how how we talked about the other day, like about how like Ronaldo can be a burden to this team as well.
Oh, Rooney's the biggest burden on that
At
team.
least Ronaldo has like his flaws as well. He still tries. He still has that drive, that passion. And he still scores.
He's still got the tenacity.
Like if Rooney had 3 goals and 3 assists in the tournament, everyone would be like, "Oh my God, Rooney, let's get him a knighthood." But yeah, it's almost as if like both for his club and his country now, people are compensating for him because he's an okay number 10. He's an okay striker, but there's better positions. We've got better positions in both our country and our club than we do, and it's almost as if like the squad is accommodated to Rooney.
We have better players in those positions than Wayne Rooney.
Now, shall we move on to the forwards? Shall we start with Harry Kane?
He just didn't look himself. Like, the thing is, you can talk about Wayne Rooney and go, "Oh, he looked like he didn't really care." Harry Kane clearly cares for his club because he tries and he tracks back sometimes and tackles and whatever. He tries really hard. And I think he was trying hard for England as well.
I think he was massively stitched up by Roy Hodgson as well. I mean,
yeah,
this boy scored 9 headed goals this season, 6'2" striker, and he's taking the corner.
I'm sorry, I want to put another point on Wayne Rooney here. Wayne Rooney, I think I heard Spencer Owen talk about this, but Wayne Rooney, you're decent at set pieces. Why, as the captain, did you not go, right, Harry, get off fucking corners and free kicks, I'll take them? Like, fucking, why did they just leave him on?
And I think, Harry Kane's last touch pretty much summarised England when he tried that 35-yard shot and it just skewed pretty
out.
Much hit the corner flag.
Almost went out for a throw-in.
It's almost as if that was a motive for like a metaphor for England in the whole tournament.
Yeah.
Should we move on anyway? What have you given Harry Kane out of 10?
3.
I've given him 3 as well.
We have more strikers to talk about though. Daniel Sturridge was just
good against Wales, crap
against everyone else.
Just played out on the wide, played out of position. I don't understand why you play him over Vardy. Like, he didn't have a great tournament. Again, he was injured. He must have only played about 20,
he didn't play too
matches.
much.
I mean, yeah, he did get the winner against Wales, but did he do anything else other than that?
No,
which is quite a sad state of affairs. So I gave him a 5 out of 10. Again, a bit like a Chris Smalling kind of situation. Not the worst player on the pitch, so he's kind of hidden behind even more villainous England players.
Yeah.
Should we move on to Vardy now?
Jamie Vardy was the best player of that tournament, in my opinion, for England.
I gave him a 6 out of 10, just behind second best after Dyer.
I gave him 7.
He had such limited time to make an impact.
That's what I mean. Like, the fact that he made as much difference, like in terms of breaking up defenders and drawing defenders to himself in as little time as he had, was why, in my opinion, he was the best player of that tournament. And he was fucking trying. I'm sorry. He was chasing every ball down.
It's almost as if he was like chasing shadows at some point.
Yeah. Well, he had no help. No one else was giving a shit, really.
He just looked hungry. He looked like he was just trying too much, like trying to compensate for Harry Kane's bad performances. And you'd think, like, players linking up, Harry Kane and Jamie Vardy would be such a fantastic strike force.
Well, they didn't start together. They didn't start together. Like, when did they start together?
But when they was both on the pitch, you'd think.
I feel like they should have been started together
because they would have complemented each other really good. You know, you got one running more from behind, and then one could use its strength to hold up.
Exactly, and they're the 2 most informed English strikers in world football at the minute.
I mean, he scored 24 goals last season, and he was started behind Sturridge, who had half of that.
Fuck me.
What about the golden boy Rashford then? I gave him a 6 out of 10.
Youthful exuberance. That one little bit of youthful exuberance that we
To
had.
tell you what, he took on more players in 4 minutes against Iceland and beat more players in 4 minutes against Iceland than any other player did during the whole of the last 86 minutes.
Fuck's sake.
He was the only one that really played without any fear.
Yeah.
And do you know what pisses me off the most? Is Roy Hodgson brought him on with 4 minutes to go. Had he brought him in on like half an hour, even 15 minutes before, England could have made it through. I honestly reckon, because when he came on against Wales, that's how the goal was generated, by his pacey burst forward.
Drawing defenders to him.
It just doesn't
make sense.
It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, what's the point of taking a gamble on the player? Because everyone was had like question marks and were raising their eyebrows, thinking, well, yeah, he's only played 18 games for Man United. He was only just been the under-18 team. Why are you taking him, Roy? Roy had the balls to take him, so why not play him?
Why didn't he have the balls to play him, yeah?
It's a bit like when Sven took Theo Walcott, in the 2006 World Cup. It was such a big hoo-ha about it. So if you're going to make the hoo-ha and make people think, wow, because Roy Hodgson always played the safe option, and you're thinking, wow, this could be his trump card here. He played the trump card, it worked, so why not have that balls again? Why not follow suit?
The thing is, Roy was clearly complacent against Iceland. And if you're going to be complacent, why not just go full fucking complacency and play a full second team? Like, why did he think that playing Sterling and Sturridge was a good idea, and then not playing Rashford? Because that's the same logic of playing Rashford, is going, oh well, I might as well give him a go.
It was like I had like my Twitter streaming, and all I could say was, put Rashford on. And then when he came on with 4 minutes to go, everyone was like, yeah, well, it's too late now, is it? How can a player really make an impact in 4 minutes? You're asking an 18-year-old kid, you're giving an 18-year-old kid 4 minutes to salvage the most humiliating defeat of all time. And all he's now going to remember is the 4 minutes against Iceland, which isn't going to be a great psychological boost for him. It's almost as if, you could just tell Roy Hodgson had given up by that point anyway.
Let's just move on to Roy.
Can we move on to Roy? To Roy.
Oh my god, what a fucking useless manager.
I'm going to say his tactics were absolutely awful. Absolutely awful.
In what sense?
The fact is, he just had no idea. He had 2 years to sort out what his best formation was.
Yeah, he did.
2 years. And during our qualifying campaign, we were absolutely fantastic. We opted for a 4-3 formation. And just because we beat Germany, we didn't play that well, with 2 strikers up front, he was like, you know what, I'm going to change what we've been working towards. Well, I'm going to change our undefeated record and play 2 strikers up front. I mean, what was he thinking? I mean, the players had been playing... I mean, yes, they never played glamorous football, but they were winning. They were grasping their matches.
Yeah.
Playing that formation, we'd beaten Portugal and France, the 2 teams that had made the final.
And thing is, after he then changed that, he changed from those games to then a 4-3-3.
Yeah.
Which then, arguably, you think, okay, that's fine. Started playing well with the 4-3-3. Because we were playing France and Portugal, both in the final, beat them both.
Yeah.
It was a friendly, but still beat them.
I mean, they still played their full squad, so...
Yeah, exactly. And after all of that, we're going to the tournament, we're playing a fucking 4-4-2 diamond.
I mean, and the diamond was just completely destroyed the balance. And it meant the presence from the wingers was eliminated.
We had no width. We had nothing.
We had no width at all. He chose Sterling, someone that had no confidence going into this tournament. Why not just pick Andros Townsend instead?
Well, I tell you what, if we'd have picked Andros Townsend, we at least couldn't have done any worse.
At least we made more options on the wing.
Exactly.
If you're going to play a diamond, the whole point of a diamond is you exploit the wings.
Exactly.
We had like you said, we had absolutely no width. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was so lethargic. It was, like you said, chasing shadows.
It was so cramped. Like, it was all cramped in the centre of the pitch. And that meant that when we were then hit on the counter, like we were against Russia, there was no one on the wing.
Like, at some points, we were playing 4 strikers. You had like Vardy, Rashford, Sterling, and Kane. Like,
all on the pitch at one time.
That kind of fucking reminds me of the days when I used to play manager mode in like FIFA 2006. I was like,
Yeah,
he's
true.
got pace. He can score goals. He's got a high rating. Let's put on 4 strikers because
Playing
we're
a
going to get loads
fucking
of goals.
4-2-4.
So you basically played 4 strikers the whole tournament and got what? How many goals did we score in the whole tournament?
1, 3,
4
4.
goals in 4 matches with 4 strikers on the pitch.
Fuck me.
With 2 of those strikers just scored 20 plus goals in the Premier League season.
With one of them being a penalty.
One of them being a penalty as well. Absolutely fantastic.
Brilliant, great.
And another mistake he made was favouring out of form players, and England managers do this again and again and again and again. I've got it here. Wilshere played 141 minutes, and Henderson, who played 20 matches, Henderson was another travesty as well, was picked in favour of Mark Noble, who was absolutely fantastic for West Ham, getting into the UEFA Cup.
Michail Antonio was decent.
Danny Drinkwater, Premier League winner, was one of the main catalysts for Leicester City, the biggest shock in Premier League history, and he hasn't even played. Imagine being that Danny Drinkwater.
He wasn't even taken, was he?
Imagine being.
Was he taken?
No. Imagine being Danny Drinkwater. You've won the Premier League.
Yeah.
You know, and
what more can you do?
And then you have Wilshere, who played 140 odd minutes.
They literally had nothing else to win. The only thing that they could have won were the FA Cup and the Capital One Cup. But I mean, they were knocked out those fairly early, weren't they? But I mean, what more could Danny Drinkwater have done to have been picked? He won the fucking Premier League and he played well. Oh, it was just doesn't this go to show that the whole these players aren't playing for sides that are capable of competing at the top of the Premier League? That excuse is bollocks.
Exactly.
Bullshit. Because that's what we've been told.
Yeah.
That's what we've been told for the past however many tournaments when we've had players that have been in form for in quotation marks lower clubs.
Yeah.
And then one lower club in quotation marks goes on to win the Premier League, and their players still aren't picked. Apart from Jamie Vardy, who if he didn't pick, he would have probably been fired straight away.
It's almost as if it's like he had made his decision beforehand, regardless of how well done. I mean, Danny Drinkwater could have won the Ballon d'Or, and he still probably wouldn't have picked him.
I'll tell you what,
playing for the big top 4.
Danny Drinkwater in that team wouldn't have done worse than Wayne Rooney at centre midfield.
Exactly. Also, why is he playing Sturridge on the right wing and dropping Lallana? Lallana goes into the tournament, like we said, a bright spark, and instead he plays Sturridge. So instead of having and like in the last match, rather than turning to Lallana, he put on Jamie Vardy. So he had 4 strikers on the pitch, but there's no one feeding in the balls. All of those players operate in the same area.
Yeah.
But they have no one.
They have no one feeding them.
Apart from Sterling. It was absolutely disgusting. There was no decent service. How can you have 4 strikers on the pitch in a diamond with no one that can deliver a ball?
Yeah,
they're all finishers.
Exactly.
They all run on. It was just absolutely crazy.
I still really don't know what he was doing. What was he doing on that touchline when he was watching us against Iceland? What the fuck was he doing? If that were me, if I were England manager then, I would have been going fucking ballistic.
And you know what I think is even worse is as much as managers being ranked for their performance, their players' performance in the 90 minutes, he was just so uninspiring. All his press conferences, when his last 100 words, he trotted out. He had a 300-word statement, and he was like, "I don't know what I'm doing here." That's how he summarised it. He walked in. He didn't have any excuses. He didn't have any balls. Like you said earlier, the FA yes man.
He is an FA yes man, and I'm willing to say that.
Safe option. I mean, why was he even? I think he should have got fired after 2014.
I think he should have probably been fired after 2012.
Yeah, I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous how he's, and it's not like he had he had 2 years. He was there since 2012. He's had 4 years for this tournament. And he was entrusted with some of the youngest, brightest English players we've had in years. the most informed players we've had in years. He was just dithering. He was clueless.
Rubbish. Fucking
And
rubbish.
do you know what? And it's also like he didn't do any of his research. I mean, Iceland's strengths were those throw-ins and those long, big balls. And what did we do? We conceded those goals. The most stereotypical goals.
We conceded one throw-in that was the first throw-in they put in.
And that is their dangerous. That's their danger area.
Didn't they score one in their previous game?
And you think, oh, do your research.
Yeah.
And it was just him just sitting there, like, and when he did get off the pitch, you want to see a manager, like, you look at Conte, like, barking orders on the touchline, and then you look at, like, Roy Hodgson, he's just there, picking up his, £4 million annual salary or something like that. It's just absolutely disgusting. He should be ashamed. There was no apology. Absolutely no apology.
No.
The England fans deserve better. Any fan deserves better than that.
Yeah.
If you've played badly and your team's underperformed, and you've had so much promise, he's had time, he's had the players at his disposal, you'd think at least apologise for those bad performances. You've just done the most embarrassing. You've been responsible for the most embarrassing English defeat of all time.
I would argue almost really in anything, because I mean, I don't think I can remember any sporting defeat as embarrassing as that.
No, it was a real David versus Goliath, and it was the fact that he had 8.
No offense to Iceland, by the way, you completely deserve to win.
Yeah.
You that was fair play to Iceland because they fucking battered us.
And you know what? What annoys me the most is you'd think that they went down 2-1 England so early on in the match. It wasn't like Iceland scored a jammy last minute.
They didn't score like a last minute winner.
Where was the half time talk that could motivate those players? Did those players come out any more hungry in the second half?
No, not at all.
And that's your responsibility as a manager. You have that 20-minute window of opportunity.
That's pretty much your only responsibility, really, is to run training, to decide what's best for your players, and to keep them going. Those are your only real 3 responsibilities as a manager.
Anyway, should we move on from one past manager that is Roy to the future of England, which is Sam
Allardyce.
I don't know what to think about Sam Allardyce. I've got a few statistics for him. He's got 15 years of Premier League experience, which is more than any of the other candidates. He took Bolton from the bottom half of the playoffs in 2000, reached semi-final of the FA Cup, got them promoted. He got 27 points with Sunderland from January to May, which is blooming fantastic. Sunderland wouldn't have stayed up.
Yeah.
He steered Blackburn away from 2008 to 2009. So he hasn't won, but the only problem is he's only managed a handful of European games, 7 in Europe. He was sacked by Newcastle, and he hasn't won anything. No. So although he's got experience, he hasn't won anything. Do you think he's another safe option for England? Do you reckon the FA is the next... I don't think he's a yes man, though.
He's not a yes man, but I think it's still a kind of safe option. It's weird, though, because I was talking to some West Ham fans about Sam Allardyce.
Yeah.
Because obviously he managed them before managing Sunderland. And a lot of them basically said about Sam Allardyce, the thing that they mainly said was that he will achieve the targets that you set him. If you set him a target, he'll achieve it. It won't be pretty and it won't be nice, but he'll achieve them.
And you know what? What we said earlier about a lack of identity, where the other teams all had their identity.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. We're going to have
an identity now. Yes, it may be prehistoric
4-4-2. Fucking 4-4-2.
But at least it's going to have an identity, and there'll be teams that are difficult to break down. And what I do like about Sam Allardyce is he doesn't accommodate players. He doesn't accommodate prima donnas.
No.
You've seen those videos where he's shouted at players for diving. He was a big, burly. Was he centre back?
He was a centre back.
Big burly centre back player that used to kick people's shins in. And that's the grit. That's the determination he's going to have. And he's always overachieved. At every club he's played, he's managed. Apart from when he got sacked from Newcastle. He's overachieved there. He did well at Blackburn, did well at West Ham. He overachieved massively at Bolton. I mean, Bolton, he managed to. He has something about him if he could sign JJ Okocha and some of the Bolton players they had back in the day.
True.
It's just the one thing I worry about is that experience and the fact he hasn't won anything.
And the thing about Sam Allardyce as well is I don't know whether he's different with his players, because I personally think he's a bit of a cunt. Honestly, I think he's a dickhead. But players seem to like him. His playing staff, who he's under, seem to like him.
Well, you never have any players that come out and say, "Well, Sam Allardyce was a rubbishy manager."
Yeah.
You know how some players afterwards are like, "Oh yeah, we didn't like his tactics."
Well, that's what it was like. That's what Pep Guardiola had with a few players, didn't he?
Do you know what I like about Sam Allardyce as well? Is he has a bit of character about him.
He has
a bit of banter in the press conferences and stuff, and he's not scared to. I remember him. He's had arguments with Jose Mourinho and Van Gaal, in press conferences and stuff. He has fighting talk. Well, Hodgson was a bit like little boy, you never could see him going head to head.
Yeah, you could. It was almost as if, right, if we played, I don't know, say if we played Italy in a knockout round.
Yeah.
And you had Conte and Sam butting heads, going fucking, I'm gonna win this game. No, I am. No, really fucking going at each other.
Yeah.
That's what you want. You want some bit of passion and a bit of determination.
Because the players see that and it stems through.
It does, because it shows that it's almost as if you're projecting your vision onto your players, and the bigger and the more vivid and ambitious the vision is, the more they're going to want to get in on it. That's what Claudio Ranieri was like. He was like, we want to fucking get as far up the Premier League as we can.
Yeah.
And his players were like, fucking yeah, we do.
So I just think it can't get any worse.
It can't get any worse. And
would you have had it? Did you want anyone different?
Honestly, no. I don't think at this current time I would have wanted anyone else. Loads of people wanted Wenger. I didn't want Wenger at all.
So I thought Wenger would have been an interesting option, but like you said, he's a bit prehistoric now. Not prehistoric in the sense tactically like Sam Allardyce is, but prehistoric in the sense that he's very stubborn.
Yeah.
And I think Sam Allardyce will revel in this opportunity. And I do like the fact he's English.
Yeah, same.
Everyone's like, oh, we should maybe got Klinsmann. But when we had Capello, he never really...
Oh, Capello was awful.
But that's the thing, what I like, going back to Wales, is they had that... I reckon he could really create a good atmosphere, because he's a bit of a lad, Sam Allardyce. A bit like how Wales and
Coleman were.
He got on with the players. And I think when you have one nation that all speak the same language...
It's all united.
You have a bit of freedom and a bit of fun. Hopefully that becomes transparent onto the pitch. So what's the future for England?
How do we turn things around from here?
First of all, I think we need a new captain.
I would agree with you there.
I think you've got to... If something has failed time again, there's no point in sticking with it. You got rid of the manager, and I think now Wayne Rooney has to step down his captaincy.
Yeah, I agree.
Then he showed Wayne Rooney's been a fantastic servant for England. Yes, he's never done it on the actual international stage, but nevertheless, he scored 50 plus goals for England. But he's got to you have this one opportunity to motivate players, and if you can't motivate your players to beat Iceland, that's not the captain we need right now.
No.
I don't know who, but there's no real massive leaders there. I mean, who else would you give it to? Do you give it to Chris Smalling? I mean, you could have said before this tournament, I probably maybe would have said Joe Hart, because he is quite a passionate man. But I can't see. I think Joe Hart's place is at risk, let alone
captaincy. Run for captaincy.
It's a sad state of affairs. We don't have that one player that you can think.
And the thing is, I would like to give it to someone like Eric Dyer, but I just think he's too young for the responsibility.
He's not ready, and you want him to feel free. You don't want.
You don't want him to have the
baggage and the burden of being the England captain.
I would almost give it to someone who isn't playing, and I know that sounds like a crazy idea, but the captain is meant to be representative of your squad, rather than representative maybe of the team. So why not just give it to someone why not let Wayne Rooney keep it, but just don't play him? Have him on the sidelines, barking orders at people if he wants to, guiding people and whatever, but just don't play him. And have someone else as the captain that's on the pitch.
Yeah.
Chris Smalling can be captain on the pitch. That doesn't mean that he's captain of the whole squad.
Yeah, I think it's got to be the only option I can think of that right now is Chris Smalling,
Which is upsetting, really,
which is
isn't it?
quite tragic, really. Because I think Chris Smalling was a fantastic player for England, but I don't look at him and go, "You're a captain."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just quite a sad state. I mean, that's going to be a tricky one because do you think Wayne Rooney after his performances deserves the captaincy? I'm not too convinced.
No.
You got to lead by example, and he didn't.
Yeah. I think, most importantly, we need our philosophy back.
Yeah, we need some form of identity, some form of philosophy.
Even if it's 4-4-2.
You know, like tactics go in and out of fashion, and who's to say you can't bring back 4-4-2? Who's to say that
True.
Who's to say you can't play traditional football and it be well?
And also, who's to say that Sam Allardyce is definitely going to play 4-4-2?
Exactly. I'm sure he will probably stick to his roots and stick to the way he's playing, but
he wouldn't necessarily have to be completely boring.
he's going to go in there open-minded. And right now, I'd rather just start off playing boring and start off scraping out wins.
Yeah, start fucking getting results before we can start putting in performances and results.
I don't want to see amazing play. I just want to see players playing for that England badge, playing for their nation.
Yeah, I don't even care if we don't win. We just need to put performances in. If an England team goes into a tournament and gets fucking spanked by Germany, but they tried and they really fucking went for it and really tried to get Germany by the gullet, I would be happy with that. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, no team's scared of playing England. I think if you play 4-4-2 with Sam Allardyce, no team's going to revel playing Sam Allardyce's teams.
No.
I remember, as a Manchester United fan, I remember when they used to have Bolton. No one liked playing Bolton. Bolton was like a real bogey team because you knew you'd be getting whacked in the faces. Those long balls, difficult to. It was just a completely different style of play because it is so traditional, it is so outdated. But sometimes that can work for you. In my opinion, the future, we've got to look beyond just the immediate. We've got to look. We've got to look at the grassroots. I think that we were talking about this the other day, weren't we? The England players are just not intelligent. They've got so much immediate gratification.
Yeah.
In Germany and Italy, they have to keep their education going alongside their football.
Yeah.
Nowadays, in English football, it's so much like you get scouted and that's it. You drop everything else. Rashford is an intelligent player. He's still at school, and that shows with the way he plays.
And the fact that he's willing to work hard as well.
You've got to be intelligent. Football's changing all the time. It's no longer 11 men lumping long balls and crosses in now. It's so much more than that. It's psychological. There's so much more involved.
It's almost as if if you're coming from it from frankly an unintelligent place.
Yeah.
What happens is you get scouted, and then once you get scouted, you play in the academy. Then you get your professional contract, and then you get your big move. And then once you get your big move, that's it. You've made it.
And players in England, they do have that immediate gratification.
They do.
Players are signed at so much of a younger age in England than any other nation. And you look at the intelligence of the German team. Like, when do you ever see if a decision goes against them? When do you ever see the Germans go mad and mental and start blaming one another? You don't.
No.
It's almost as if England never had a plan B. They couldn't be creative. They're like robots, brainwashed.
Yeah.
And I just think it honestly stems from that. I think also the Premier League's been a bit of a curse as well. I think.
Well, the Premier League's a joke.
The Premier League is a joke. Just the amount of money is scandalous in it, and English players are overpriced.
We could possibly see a player who's transferred for £100 million.
Exactly.
I thought that was only a thing that happened in basketball, because only basketball players used to get transferred for hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
But it's just English players they're overrated and they actually believe their hype.
Yeah.
They're not modest like other players are from other countries. Look at Sterling, for example, £50 million. Do you know how much Rashford would probably go for in this current market?
Yeah.
If he has another good season.
He would. How much do you reckon Rashford would go for now?
Probably 40.
You reckon?
And that's why
I don't think it's that much. But
I don't know. Like, if he has another good season, you just don't know.
if he has another good season, I would say definitely 40. But you never know.
Which is ridiculous, and it's the sad state of English football. And you just got to go back to basics, and I think that's hopefully what the FA are doing right now. We're bringing Sam Allardyce back. He isn't going to take any of this prima donna rubbish.
No.
He's going to. I hope he just takes the job with a firm grip. I hope the Premier League. Well, I think it's already cursed as it is, but I think most leagues like that. I just hope we can go back to grassroots and stop spoiling these young kids. Stop spoiling them. Stop taking them away from their schools at the age of 14. Make them get an education. Teach them about the game. Don't teach them on a massive pitch. Teach them intelligence. Teach them decision making. Don't tell them they're the best right now because it's not working.
No.
And you know what? It's like we said before, is even England 10 years ago, you had these natural leaders, these independent thinkers, when you had likes of even Sol Campbell on the pitch, John Terry, David Beckham, Gary Neville. Like we said, we couldn't name a single captain because they're all robots.
Yeah.
They're all told what to do. No one dictates the play. Rooney was the last player of that generation that probably did that. And even nowadays, he's just got he's got 300k a week.
Nothing. He's just nothing now, is he?
And how they're the most expensive squad at the tournament with the most paid manager is just beyond a joke.
Well, depending on what you're saying as well, I would say another philosophy that we need to stop doing in fucking England is pick players that are on form. Like you were saying earlier.
You said that, yeah.
Pick players that are on form. Because this has been done for long enough where we pick players just for who they're playing for.
Look at some of the players that France left behind.
Yeah. Fucking, look, I don't care, like, if Real Madrid fanboys say that Karim Benzema is a great player. Karim Benzema was never better than Higuain.
No.
I'm sorry, he was never better than Higuain. And anyone who tries to argue that Karim Benzema is better than Higuain can fucking ask me, can like fight me for it. Because I will fucking say every day, Higuain at Real Madrid and now is better than Benzema.
But I respect that, and I respect the fact that other teams don't just pick their premium
players. And I mean, the fact that he had the balls to drop him, one, because he isn't good enough, frankly, and he's not as good as Griezmann.
Yeah.
And also because he fucking blackmailed Mathieu Valbuena, that as well. I'm glad that Didier Deschamps dropped him.
Could you imagine Roy Hodgson ever dropping Wayne Rooney?
Never.
No.
Even if he did something even if he committed a crime, I don't think he'd drop him. And also, Didier Deschamps didn't buckle under pressure when Karim Benzema came out and said, "Oh, you're not picking me because you're racist, because he's part Algerian." He was like, "No, I didn't pick you because I didn't want you in the squad."
It's like, you remember when John Terry, he was accused of racism. They took away his captaincy, but John Terry retired from international football.
Yeah.
He was never fired. Like, they still would have picked him.
Yeah.
Had he been made applicable.
Yeah, probably. Stupid. Oh, anyway.
On that lovely note.
On that note, we'll leave you with just fucking England, sort yourselves out, please.
Hopefully in 2 years' time we'll be making a podcast where we're like, yes, we had a great World Cup.
We did.
And we can look back at this and laugh. But until then, it's going to be a long, rocky road.
It's going to be a very, very long, rocky road. We're sorry if the mic at the minute isn't at its best. We had to change up our mic because we realised that the audio in the last one was very scratchy and jumpy. Like, it was like that. So we had to change our mic. We're sorry if this one isn't great, but we wanted to get this out as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Because we have Premier League previews coming up soon.
So more research, more homework.
More homework for us. But thank you very much for listening. Leave a like and subscribe if you want to hear more. And we'll see you back with our Premier League previews. Okay, bye-bye.